Hello. Happy whatever day you're listening to this, if you're listening to the recording, and a happy Saturday if you're on live. So, this is the Confident as Fuck webinar. Today, I'm going to go over a little bit about my journey with confidence. I think that it can speak to a lot of how we feel about confidence and also just provide some shifts, mindset shifts, in the way of quotes and something that I wrote this morning that I want to share with you at the end. And it's going to provide some mindset shifts, which is really important for confidence and building and maintaining it. We're going to go over that in a little bit. So this webinar is going to be about an hour. And I really want to hone in on the perception that society gives us of confidence and what it really is, because I think there's a lot of confusion around confidence, and that's why it's so difficult for us to build, maintain it in our own lives, and for us to really see ourselves and shift that identity that we have of ourselves to a confident person. Because a lot of times we compare confidence, what confidence looks like, based on someone else, not based on you, because you don't think you're a confident person. I'm going to tell you that you are. We all have, I don't care if you don't believe me yet, because by the end of the webinar, you will believe me. And confidence is not this like blanket generalized thing that we believe it to be, where it's like, oh, that confident person is just like bold and wears whatever she wants and drives a pink car and says, hey, look at me, all the time, and that's confidence. It's not. Confidence is not objective. It's very, very subjective. And so that's one of the really important things that I'm really gonna drive home today, because it's not so much about what confidence looks like on that person, but what confidence looks like on you. And it's not what that person's confidence. Imagine confidence was like a shirt, like put it into a physical form. If confidence was like a shirt, it's not like you put the shirt on her and it looks good, and then you take off her confidence shirt and put it on you and it looks good too. Her confidence or his confidence is not going to look good on you because it's not authentic to you. You have to learn about yourself to be able to cultivate and build, and then eventually maintain and grow and evolve and transform your own confidence. So it's a lot more work than just, I'm self-conscious, I need to get more confident, I need to be more confident, I need to be more confident. It's a very deep journey of coming home to yourself and your own authenticity. So without further ado, after that introduction where I just couldn't help myself to start to go into the lessons, we're going to get started. So if you have a water, a notepad, maybe a green juice, I have my protein shake, and I'll give you just a minute or two to get whatever you need, get settled, make sure you're not going to get interrupted. Take a sip. And let's get started. So I want to share a very profound experience that I had with you this morning. And if you follow me on Instagram at TrueTori at all, and you see my stories, I've been talking a lot the past few days about divine guidance, and this webinar is not about divine guidance. It's not about spirituality, but it is a part of this story. So I'm just going to put that right there. So I've been talking a lot about synchronicities, divine guidance. I talk a lot about processing emotions, and really pulling up things that affected you when you were younger. And what happens is when you're young meaning like a child, traumatic things happen to us, and traumatic doesn't have to be societal traumatic, and I'm not downplaying that at all, but just an experience, a way someone said something to us, the frequency of how we were treated by certain people, that can cause trauma. And so when you as a child experience something that doesn't feel good, doesn't matter what magnitude it is. Well, it does matter what magnitude, but just for argument's sake, when you experience something that doesn't feel good for you as a child, we literally do not have the capacity to process it in that moment. So our bodies and our brains are so smart that they know that like this little person cannot process the magnitude of these experiences right now. So let's push it down. So what they do is physically, this is like a physical thing. These emotions get locked in your cells. They get locked in your cells. And so from an emotional and a mental and a spiritual standpoint, there's this tension and this stagnant energy of unprocessed emotions in your body. And you grow up and they just stay there until they get triggered. And then when they get triggered, sometimes we deal with them, sometimes we don't. So if you're a self-aware person, if you are working on processing emotions, then you know that when these things come up, sometimes our ego steps in front right away. Our ego will step in front and say, and go on the defense, rather than looking at the lesson with curiosity and realizing that, okay, this is going to be really painful to feel and to bring up. I don't want to feel the feelings of, rejection, say, just because that kind of relates closely with confidence. I don't want to deal with the rejection that I felt in elementary school because it's behind me, because I'm an adult, because I don't care, because of all the excuses that can come up in the book. And the truth is that if we don't bring up that pain, if we don't feel and process that pain, it will stay locked in our cells forever. That causes, or not only will it stay locked there until we process it, it'll just keep coming up in triggers, in situations, in lessons. It will keep showing up until we deal with it. And that's why they say a lot of times that there's souls that have been here that keep coming back to this earth because they still have things to learn, or they still have a mission they have to complete, or whatever. But there's also new souls who it's maybe their first time on this earth, and they have a lot of shit to work through. And so why does this relate to confidence? Because, as I said, things happen. We are all born pure, right? And I don't mean that in a religious sense. I mean pure as in, no one, hopefully not many people, go and just start, like telling babies that they're unworthy or rejecting babies. And I know it happens, and there is younger people who go through things at such a young age that it really seems very unfair. And for the most part, there is a pureness and a love, an unconditional love that we receive from everybody around us until we get to a certain age. And then I would say, you know, maybe once we kind of start to enter into society, into school and social encounters, is when we start to play the comparison game. And that gets triggered by rejection, by clicks, by I don't want to play with you when you're like in kindergarten. And some kids were super resilient and some kids take that to heart. And so one of the lessons that I went through this morning was, you know, I'm a new full-time entrepreneur and I have been working in my business for over a year, but I just recently quit my job. And so knowing that now I rely on myself for money and to, you know, make proposals to people and to sell people on me by being super authentic and myself, it's brought up a lot. And so this is the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur or a business or anything like that, is that you get to look at deep into you to realize kind of what's showing up and what's holding you back from your most authentic self. Because when you are being your most authentic self, sales and business and success in that world are really easy, because you're going to attract your tribe and you're going to attract who resonates with the authentic you that you're being, your confidence. And so what happened this morning was I had a feeling where I was like, why am I getting so nervous to propose things to people? Why am I getting so nervous to offer things to people? And I realized that it was a deep emotional wound that I had to work through. So I started journaling, and what came up was an old wound from elementary school of being picked last in gym class. And I know that first of all, a lot of people can resonate with that. And I know also that that sounds really small, but time and time again, not being picked, not being accepted, that gets to you. And I couldn't process that sadness and that rejection at that age. So it got locked in my cells, and it's coming up now at a time where I'm aware enough to process it and ultimately to move on. So I did that, and it comes up a lot. It'll keep coming up. I'm not going to say that this is the first time I've dealt with this issue, but this is the first time I've consciously and with self-awareness approached this issue from curiosity, felt the pain, processed through journaling and crying, and felt that, you know, that release on the other side of it, that holding of your inner child. And so this all relates to confidence, because we need to heal what it is inside of us that makes us feel unworthy of acceptance or significance from other people. And I will remind you that the only acceptance and significance that matters is that of your own. And the reason for that is because you can look at someone else and they can look really confident and they can look like the star of the show. And deep down, oftentimes, and a lot of times, we see that those people are in a lot of pain and that they're actually not as, they may look confident on the outside, but they're not as grounded into their authentic confidence. And what I mean by authentic confidence is a confidence within you that you accept, that you know you're worthy of just because you are worthy of it, not because other people say you're worthy of it, not because other people accept it as confidence. Do you see where I'm going here? Where it's about you. It's not about them. It's not about the externals. It's not about the perception. It's not about what you look like to others in terms of being confident. It's not about being smooth when, you're up, standing up, talking in front of people. It's about you feeling this deep, loving acceptance of who you are and of who you're becoming and who you want to be. And that's where we build like really firm roots of confidence in who we are. And so it's closely linked and connected with authenticity. And I'll tell you a quick story about how I realized this. I'm going to take a quick sip of my protein shake first. Okay, so I had there was this girl who I had come into contact with a few times over the past few years. And I was having people over at my house, and one of our friends said, "Oh, can she come over?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever." We were just watching like a fight and having pizza and hanging out. So she came over, and this was the first time I had ever really talked to this girl. And here's the funny thing. I was always not intimidated, but envious of how confident she was. She was super quirky in her own way. Like, those people that aren't like the jock or the cheerleader archetype of like this like popular person, but they're like very weird and quirky and like artistic, but they're like in their own way, and they're so authentic to them, to who they are, that they're super confident, and like that aura around them just like bleeds into everyone around them, and it makes you, I remember feeling like, wow, she's so sure of who she is, that she doesn't care if it's weird because it's her. And so I thought it was so cool. And we were talking that day because she was the only other like female there, so we started talking and hanging out, and we started having like a heart to heart, which happens oftentimes when I talk to people, because I automatically want to go deep and, have like a real conscious conversation. And we were talking, and she said, she was like, you're so nice, and you're so easy to talk to. I was always really intimidated by you. And I was like, here's this person who I envied her confidence, and she's telling me she was intimidated by me before this encounter. So I was like, what do you mean intimidated by me? And she was like, well, you're just so confident, and you just have this like big energy about you that I was always really intimidated by that. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me, because I've always envied you for your confidence. So I wanted to share that story with you because she perceived me as the energy I wanted to be perceived by. But here's the thing. It was not fulfilling for me to know that I was perceiving the energy that I wanted to perceive. You might think that what you want is for people to see you this way. But then when they do, you realize there's still something missing. And that thing that's missing is your belief, your acceptance of you. And that was when I realized that everything I'm telling you today is that it's not about them. It's not about what we think it is about. There's no fulfillment in the perception of us. There's only fulfillment in who we're actually being, and that's where the self-integrity comes in, where you are the only one that's with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from birth to death, right? You are the only one that's with you in your head all the time. And so, if you are exuding self-integrity in who you are being, not just how you are looking. And so when you anchor into who you want to be, who you're being currently, and are you happy with that person? And even if you're happy with that person, you can still desire to evolve that person. But oftentimes we're not happy with that person. And I would invite you to ask yourself why. And so I'm going to give you an exercise to do. You can write it down and do it after you watch this webinar. But I want you to write down who you are being now, today, exactly like who you are being. And are you happy with that? Genuinely happy? And I will remind you that self-integrity and brutal honesty is required here, because you're not going to get the results you want. You're not going to obtain the growth and the lessons you need to become the person you need to be if you're not honest with yourself. And so I want you to, like, for example, do you remember those Cosmopolitan or like those magazines that we would read a lot? And they had like those quizzes that say like, what kind of sexy goddess are you, or something like that. And excuse me. And then you would, I don't know about you, but I'm about to call myself out here. I would answer the questions based on who I wanted to be, or the answers I wanted them to be, rather than the answers that they actually were. So if it was like, you are, bold and outspoken, at a time when I was really shy and not bold and outspoken, and it was like, or you're shy and meek, I would choose bold and outspoken, not because I was trying to manifest it, but because I was lying to myself about who I was being that day. And then when I would get the answer I wanted, I forced the answer I wanted in those like little flowchart quizzes. I didn't feel good about that answer, because I knew deep within me it wasn't true. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that we have to exercise and build this self-integrity first. And then the confidence can start to get, like, that's the foundation for the confidence. And then we can start to frame out the house and the confidence, and then maintain it. It's just like a house. So what we're going to do is, I want you to either pause this and do it now if you feel like you might like crap out and not do it later, or just do it right after the webinar. So you can write down who you're being, journal on it. And it doesn't have to be any type of way. I'm giving you very loose guidelines right now, because this is your journey. This is really authentic to you and who you are being. I don't know who you're being, only you do, deep within you. So journal down and write down who you are being right now, today, this week, this year, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then I want you to write down who you want to be. What do you desire for your identity, for yourself, for you to feel fulfilled, not for the perception of other people. Forget about other people. For you to feel fulfilled in who you are being and showing up as every single day. What does that look like? What does that look like to you? Does that look like, doing the scary thing when you want to do the safe thing? Does that look like going skydiving and jumping out of your limits? Does that look like stopping and taking a second before you react to something that somebody said and fly off the handle if you have like anger issues? What does it look like to you? So where you are now, where you want to be, and then we're going to bridge the gap. So then you're going to bridge the gap to what do you have to do to get there? What daily decisions do you have to make to get there? And then after you've done this exercise, we have to put it to practice. You have to integrate it into your life. You actually have to start being that person. That's the uncomfortable part. We can journal and write down, and yeah, it's uncomfortable to face the things that, the brutal honesty and the things that we don't want to deal with within ourselves, the things that we don't like. And it's hard to see where we are and where we want to be and how far away we are. The ego makes it very difficult and uncomfortable to do shadow work for a reason. And this is shadow work. And so then you have to put it into practice every day, and you have to build that self-integrity with yourself. You can't just, even if you have a coach, even if you're one of my coaching clients, you can tell me and report back to me and if I'm holding you accountable, and you can tell me, hey, I did this thing, and you can lie to me and I won't, and maybe I'll know and maybe I won't, but you'll know. That's the important part, is that where are you not being honest with yourself about the decisions you're making to become that next level version of you? That's the lesson here. And so that's why confidence is deep, deep work. It has taken me years, and I'm not trying to discourage you because the journey has been beautiful. It has taken me years, and I'm still going deeper, deeper and deeper and deeper forever. That's what it's all about. It's a journey, not a destination. Everybody always says that, but it's so true. Everything is a journey, not a destination. And the sooner that you accept that and start to love the process and the journey, the sooner you will start to feel fulfilled every single day, not just when you get there. So put it into practice every single day. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel like your ego is going to tell you all the reasons why it's not you. And I would invite you to fire back at your ego all the reasons why it is, and go after the you that you want to be, the confident, authentic, high self-integrity you that you dream of, because we are the only ones that put the limits on ourselves, and you are the one that's going to make it happen ultimately. Whether you have a coach, whether you're in a coaching program, whether you join the program I'm going to talk about at the end of this webinar, you are the one that has to make it happen. You are the one that has to be honest with yourself, make the internal changes, and make the day-to-day decisions and changes. So I am here for support. You can DM me on Instagram or at True Tori, and we can have a conversation if you're going through it and you want more support. I am taking one-on-one coaching clients at this time. I have a few spots open, so DM me on Instagram and we can chat, or you can write down like in the comments below. And I want to share with you, which one do I want to share with you first? I have two things that I want to share with you. So I want to let you know, first, I'm going to just go over quick some of the details of the Queen Energy program that I am starting up soon. And so right now there's a wait list, and you can add yourself to the wait list. And what happens is then when the doors open, then if you're on the wait list, you're going to have a huge discount, a discount that nobody else will have. So make sure, if you're interested in this kind of session that I just did with you, then you're going to put yourself on that wait list and get that discount, because I can't wait to have you in the Queen Energy course. So it's a group program. We're starting on February 14th, 2022. I picked Valentine's Day because it's all about self-love. This decision is about self-love and not from self-hate. It's about loving yourself so much to want to grow, to want to evolve, to want to anchor in that queen energy within you, that, you know, you sign up for a program that's going to help you grow, not because you hate yourself so much that you want to change. So anchor in that energy for the decision, because it's really important in the intention of making a decision to invest in yourself. And so it's going to be very structured, just like this. So we're going to have a live call every single week, 60 minutes, a group call. I also am going to open up like one-on-one hot seat coaching throughout the week. I'll do lives. It's all going to be in a Facebook group. The calls are going to be on Zoom, and then I'll put the recordings into the Facebook group. And you're going to have like a portal login. So basically all the calls and the modules and the like lessons and stuff, and any of like your homework or stuff like that, that's going to be in a portal that you'll have access to throughout the program. And then we're going to have a Facebook group so that we can be in constant contact, so that I can go live with you guys every day and check in on you, so that I can really guide you through this process. And so it's going to be 8 weeks long. And week 1 is going to be who is the queen in you. So that's going to be a lot of you anchoring into who that person is. Who is that queen, that royalty, that sovereign, that golden light that lives within you. And then we're going to work on the why in the second week. So there's some exercises that you can do to really, really anchor in your why, so that when things get hard, when the ego comes up, when the old identity, old limiting beliefs, all this crap, when it comes up, you have a really strong anchored why, so that you can move through it and keep fighting for who you want to be and that queen inside of you. And we're also going to go over what's holding you back, limiting beliefs, old identities. Like I just said, that ego aspect of it that comes into play literally without fail. We're going to bridge the gap, similar to the homework I just gave you in this. So who you are, where you are now, who is the queen? How do we become the queen? Worthiness is week 4. Week 5. So weeks 4 through week 7 are going to be all about the blockages that come up, the big, like ugly, fat, hairy blockages that sit in the corner of our mind. And like the one I talked about today within myself, like the acceptance and the rejection blockage that I had because of being picked last in gym class, because of always being left out at the school I went to. And so that's where we're going to go over worthiness, confidence, similar to what we talked about today, but I'm going to go so much deeper because we're going to have a whole week to talk about it. This was only 40 minutes where I talked about confidence, or 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to have a whole week to go over that. So worthiness, confidence, physiology. How are you carrying yourself? Are you carrying yourself as the queen? Or are you carrying yourself as the person who is, unsure if they're the queen? Because they're two very different things. So we have to anchor in our physiology plays a big, big part in how our brain starts to perceive us and believe in the identity we're working on creating. And then week 7 is going to be self-trust, intuition, spirituality. So that deep connection within you that grounds you into the higher consciousness that lives within you, the limitless being that can have whatever they want, who is really just limited by the human in us. And so connecting to that is really going to help assist you in knowing that you're all powerful. You have God, higher consciousness, the universe, it lives within you. And so we're going to anchor that in week 7. And then week 8 is going to be integration. That's going to be me sending you off into the sunset on your new journey, and just giving you all the tips I can on how to integrate all of this into your daily life. So that's the Queen Energy Group program. This was a fully intuitive program that I came up with. And long story short, I will just give you a little background on how I felt called to create it and ultimately why I am doing this work. So I had a lot of experiences and a lot of things in my life that anchor in this kind of big queen fiery energy within me. And what I realized was I've been dealing with this my whole life, kind of like the peaks and valleys of coming home to this energy, this just strong big energy that like this like royalty queen, like I don't know, that's the best way I can explain it. It's just an energy, it's an aura about you that's like, this is me, like I am royalty, like I am worthy of every single thing I want, and I can go get it, and I'm bold, but you have to decide who that queen is for you, and that's a part of the program. But either way, so the experiences I've been through, certain resounding things in my life that I went through, and I realized that not everybody has these experiences, these memories, these moments, these things or reminders in their life, or this energy that's like running through their veins to remind them of who they are. And so I'll tell you a quick story. I am a Leo, and I know everybody's into astrology right now, but I was into it a really long time ago, since I was, spiritual and into astrological shit when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9. And I was literally doing like tarot cards at like 9 years old. And so when I always felt connected to like lions and lion energy, even before I knew I was like a Leo, you know what I mean? So my favorite movie ever was The Lion King. And I remember to this day, when I was younger, 5, 6 maybe, watching the movie, and there's a part in the movie where Mufasa is dead. He's in the sky. He's like made up of constellations, and he's talking to Simba. And Simba's saying, I can't be the king that you were. Like, I'm basically like, I'm not worthy of being the king. And Mufasa says, remember who you are. And that stuck with me forever. Remember who you are. And so there's a lot of synchronicities with the remember who you are and the king and the lion energy, and the fact that I'm a Leo, and my dad's a Leo too, and my mom's a Leo also. And I have this, I don't know if you can see it, I have this necklace of a lion that I started wearing at least 15 years ago. That was my dad's, and it's a reminder that I have to ground me into this energy. I have a huge tattoo of a lion on my leg to remind me of the energy. And so I always felt really, really grounded in this energy. And one last person that I have to give note to is my grandpa on my dad's side. And he was the epitome of this energy. And so when he passed away, when I was 9 years old, I always felt really, really connected to him, even though I was so young when he passed away. And I always felt really connected to that kind of charismatic, bold energy that he had. He was an immigrant. He did not speak the language well. He came to this country and he created an amazing life for himself. And he was so confident and so charismatic and so bold. And he was the kind of person that walked into a room and he just had the attention of everyone. He had the ear of everyone. He was so well respected, and he was so authentic to who he was. You know, he didn't worry about his accent, or he had like such a strong, heavy Italian accent that like half the time I didn't know what he was saying. And let alone people who weren't around him often definitely didn't know what the hell he was talking about half the time, but everyone laughed. And it wasn't about what he was saying, it was about the energy. It was about the aura and the energy that he was leaking into the room, any room he walked into. And so when I came up with the concept for this group program, I realized that that's the energy that I've always felt called to. And I have all these reminders and experiences and deep synchronistic divine guidance and intuitive nudges to create this program, because not everybody has those experiences and those reminders in their daily life. And so I want this program to serve as a container for you to have those moments and those experiences of boldness and greatness and charisma and authenticity that will ultimately help you be the most confident and the most, you know, the fullest expression of you that you can be, the biggest energy of you that you can be, because we all have big energy living inside of us, and it's up to us to harness that and to pull it out. So that's kind of the vision and the reason why I'm creating this group program. I'm really, really excited about it. So I had, after my this is the last thing I'm going to share with you, is some soul writing that I did this morning. And so what happened was I had this experience where I processed the emotions, like I told you, and I went to journal on it. And I was crying and I was journaling and I was processing and I was feeling that physical release of crying. And it just felt so good. And then I decided to do some card pulls with some of my Oracle decks. So I did that. And then I had this idea, and it just like, usually I'll like wait and then I'll like write it down after, but I had my notebook and I was like, I have to write this down right now. So I want to share it with you. So it says, and this came like fully channeled right from my soul. Here it is. What if growth and becoming the you that you have always desired to be is a series of decisions? Decisions to go right when your old identity says to go left. Steps in consistency each day to go right until you get to the threshold. The one defining moment, test, decision that serves as an initiation to that version of you. The moment that you leave it all behind, the moment where the call to run for the hills is louder and stronger than every day and moment before this. Because you know that the next step, the one over the threshold, is also the last step as the old you. It all comes down to one moment where you leave the excuses, the stories, the pain, the doubts behind, and you step into who you have always been meant to be. Every step before this was training for this moment, the initiation into you, the real you. Take the step. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to remind you that a rose doesn't try to be a tulip doesn't try to be a daisy doesn't try to be a sunflower. They're all beautiful in their own way. And that is what your soul wants you to remember when you think about what confidence means to you, and not to compare yourself to others, because there's no point in comparing a tulip to a rose or a sunflower to a daisy, because there's just no competition. They're all their own beauty and unique flower. And so are you. So I want to thank you so very much for sharing your energy and your time with me today. And I can't wait to see you on the next one. I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing day. And also the waitlist for Queen Energy Group Program will be in the description below. Thank you, and I love you, and I'll see you later.